also suggest too that signaling, one using their signal lights, certainly in my traveling and as I'm merging into that one lane from a double lane, I always ensure that my signal light is on as I'm merging so that people do know behind me that I am getting ready to move. Whether to the right or the left in a merge. So certainly we will support this bill going forward, and again with proper information to motorists, I think it will be a good bill. Thank you.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure to rise and speak today, Mr. Speaker, in favour of Bill number 170. Again, the Honourable Member and I had some discussions about this issue he's bringing forward and whether motorists travelling in Nova Scotia, whether residents or visitors needed some clarity in regards to who does actually have the right-of-way when there's a passing lane. We were looking at obviously additional passing lanes, for example, the 101 that we talked about during estimates. So this will continue to be a concern with obviously with the travelling public as well as the department. So, Mr. Speaker, and I understand some jurisdictions have varying types of whether it be signage to indicate who has the right-of-way. Some even have painted on the roadways in regards to which lane would have the right of way at the expiration of the laneway. So I think that clarity is good when it comes to those who travel the highways, and obviously in a situation like this when it's road safety, very important to ensure that motorists do have clarity and are very clear as to who have the right of way. So certainly at this point, Mr. Speaker, we'll be supporting moving on law amendments. I do want to say I appreciate the comments of the critic for the official opposition talked about ensuring that we do the proper research, and I think it's important in both these bills that we do ensure that we have the good research and that we do the right thing here to ensure that we have clarity in regards to issues such as being brought forward. So for those few comments, Mr. Speaker, I certainly support Bill number 170 going to law amendments. Thank you.
If I recognize the member, it'll be to close debate. The Honourable the Member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable the Minister for his support to move this bill forward, and my critic with the official opposition. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move second reading on Bill number 170.
The motion is for second reading of Bill number 170. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour signify by saying aye. Against? Motion is carried.
Bill 170, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 293 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Motor Vehicle Act.
Order that this bill be moved to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable the Government Deputy House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 162, the Municipal Government Act?
Bill 162. The Honourable the Member for Cape Breton South.
Mr. Speaker, pleased to rise today on behalf of the member from Richmond to move Bill 162 forward. It's an act to amend Chapter 18 to the Acts of 1998, the Municipal Government Act. And Mr. Speaker, the bill deals with amends the Municipal Government Act to provide for regulations respecting the refunding of municipal taxes paid in error
or please.
In fact overpaid.
The Honourable the Member for Cape Breton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of our caucus, to stand up in support of this bill moving forward and on to law amendments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia and Municipal Relations.
Thank you, Speaker, and I'm pleased to stand here for a couple minutes to discuss Bill 162, which calls for amendments to the Municipal Government Act. And Bill 162, Mr. Speaker, would allow government and council to adopt regulations outlining how municipalities should refund taxes paid in error or taxes which were overpaid. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, that we do believe the current legislation already provides municipalities with the authority to refund municipal taxes paid in error. And if we look across the province, we find instances where municipalities have reimbursed taxes where overpayments have been made. Now, we also recognize that municipalities may differ in the approach they use when dealing with overpayments, and that may or may not be because of how they interpret current legislation. Mr. Speaker, as I noted earlier, we are in regular contact with UNSM regarding amendments to the Municipal Government Act to make sure that municipalities have the tools they need to govern effectively. And the amendments often involve clarifying particular areas so that municipalities are left with no doubt about the intent of the legislation. Refunding overpayments has not been a topic of conversation between the UNSM and the province. And if there is a problem, it would probably be appropriate for the UNSM to have some input. However, Mr. Speaker, it is hard to understand how any municipality would think that they didn't have the responsibility to refund overpayments. And after all, how can you keep what you didn't have the right to in the first place? However, despite those reservations, Mr. Speaker, we are prepared to support this bill in second reading and allow a go to law amendments. So.
The Honourable Member for Halifax, Shabukto.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the comments from the minister. They clarify the purpose. I know it's not his bill, but I'm glad to see that the government supports it. I take it that would mean that the government is prepared to put in place regulations that would advance the agenda laid out in the bill, the purpose as stated by the minister. It seems to me he's entirely correct in his observations as to what's the appropriate thing to do with taxes paid in error or overpaid. He's quite correct about that. He's had an interesting session so far, introduced quite a number of bills, or found a number of his bills under his jurisdiction being amended in one way or another. We look forward to dealing with the more substantive ones when they come along for debate, be it this session or a future session. But certainly on this bill, we are in complete agreement and are happy to see this particular point clarified. Thank you.
If I recognize the member, it'll be for the end of debate. The Honourable, the member for Preston.
I'd like to move the bill for second reading.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 162. Is the host ready for the question? All those in favour signify by saying aye. Against? Motion is carried.
Bill 162, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 18 of the Acts of 1998, the Municipal Government Act.
Order that this bill be sent to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable, the Government Deputy House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could we go back, please, now to public bills for second reading?
Public bills for second reading.
Please call Bill number 151, the Tourist Accommodation Act.
Bill 151. The Honourable, the Minister of Tourism, Heritage and Culture.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to be able to speak on second reading of Bill 151, a bill to repeal the Tourist Accommodations Act. Earlier this month, this government introduced a new approach to Tourist Accommodations Act in Nova Scotia. This new approach will ensure a quality experience for our visitors and will reduce the regulatory burden for operators. As a government, our role is to ensure quality accommodations for tourists, and this new approach will do just that. Many have asked us, why don't we just enforce the current act? Well, Mr. Speaker, enforcement is not the solution. Our goal is to welcome more tourists to Nova Scotia and to ensure that when they are here, they can stay in a clean, quality accommodations. Mr. Speaker, we consulted with the Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia, and this is what they want. Reducing red tape and regulations and allowing industry to take the lead on the issue of quality, Mr. Speaker, is the right thing to do. Tie-ins welcomes less government regulations. They see that it has worked in other places, especially British Columbia and Alberta. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, we are seeing media reports indicating that the Liberal government in New Brunswick is planning to introduce legislation to eliminate tourist accommodations license in their province. We understand that they are planning to replace the regulatory license requirement with a new program very similar to what is being proposed here in Nova Scotia. Mr. Speaker, We, along with many other areas, understand that government's role in the tourism sector is one of promotion, not one of policing. Mr. Speaker, as I have stated before, Tynes is supporting our new approach and leading the way, and I believe the majority of the industry is supported this initiative. A vote against this bill is a vote against what the industry wants, Mr. Speaker. And this new approach has many benefits. For tourists, it's about choice. For operators, it's about options. And for industry, it's about giving them the leadership role they want to improve the quality of our tourism product. And Mr. Speaker, at this time, I would like to adjourn debate.
The motion is to adjourn debate on Bill 151. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against? Motion is carried. The Honourable, the Government Deputy House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 182, the Heritage Property Act?
Bill 182, the Heritage Property Act. The Honourable, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Heritage.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to call Bill 182, Amendment to the Heritage Property Act, for second reading today. Mr. Speaker, as stewards for the province's heritage, the Department of Tourism, Culture and Heritage believes that economic growth and development should be balanced with the preservation and the protection of our heritage resources. An important part of our heritage here in Nova Scotia is represented by the historic buildings that surround and protect us. And they're referred to, Mr. Speaker, as our built heritage. It is one of the areas of key responsibility for our department. Under the Heritage Property Act, owners of municipally registered heritage properties at this time must apply to the municipality if they want to demolish or to substantially alter the exterior of a building. The application is then reviewed by the Heritage Advisory Committee, with Municipal Council making a final decision. Currently, if the municipality denies a request, the owner must wait 1 year and then can proceed with this work without approval. The amendment outlined in Bill 182 will simply extend that waiting period from 1 year to 2 years, Mr. Speaker, providing more time to consider all of the options of preserving a building with heritage value. It will also serve as an interim measure while our department reviews the Heritage Property Act in its entirety. This was a recommendation of the province's heritage strategy and is a priority for the 2008 and 2009 fiscal year. Once the amendment to the Heritage Property Act passed, it would be applied to applications filed after May 23, 2007 and before September 1, 2009. By that time, the review of the entire Act will be completed. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to speak on Bill 182 this afternoon and encourage the members of the House to move forward. But at this time, Mr. Speaker, I would also like to adjourn debate on this bill.
There is a motion to adjourn debate on Bill 182. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against? Motion is carried. The Honourable, the Government Deputy House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could we move into, please, Public Bills Committee of the Whole House on bills?
Committee of the Whole House on Bills.
Agreed?
Is it agreed?
Agreed.
Order, please. The Committee on the Whole House on Bills is called to order. The chair recognizes the Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would you please call Bill number 107, the Nova Scotia Agricultural College Act?
Bill number 107, the Nova Scotia Agricultural Act. College Act, pardon me. This bill was amended, I understand. Shall the clause as amended carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Carry. Shall the bill carry? Carry. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Number 117, the Securities Act.
Bill number 117, the Securities Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Carry. Shall the bill carry? Carry. Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Call Bill number 123, the Public Service Act.
Bill number 123, the Public Services Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Shall the bill carry? Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you. Bill number 125, the Public Service Act.
Bill number 125, the Public Services Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Carry. Shall the bill carry? Carry. Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Bill number 135, the Municipal Elections Act.
Bill number 135, Municipal Elections Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Shall the title carry? Shall the bill carry? Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you. Bill number 144, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act.
Bill number 144, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Shall the title carry? Shall the bill carry? Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you. Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act.
Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act. No amendments. Shall the clause carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Shall the bill carry? Carry. Thank you. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would ask the House permission, seek consent to move into public bills for third reading.
No, we can't do it in committee.
Sorry?
We have, yeah.
Private members' public bills. We have one. Thank
What's
you.
the number? 121?
Bill number 121, the Assessment Act.
Bill number 121, the Assessment Act. Any amendments? The bill has been amended. Shall the clause as amended carry? Shall the clause as amended carry? Carry. Shall the title carry? Carry. Shall the bill carry? Carry. Thank you. That's it in committee? Okay. Chair recognizes the Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would ask that you now do rise and clerk report progress.
Thank you.
The Honourable the Government Deputy House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and would you please call, or could we get consent of the House? Report back, sorry.
The Honourable the
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on Bills reports that the committee has met and considered the following bills: 107, 117, 123, 125, 135, 144, 146, 121, Chairman's been instructed to recommend them to favorable consideration of the House, each without amendment.
The Honourable the Government Deputy House Leader.
Okay, we'll try this again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could we get consent of the House to move into public bills for third reading?
Is it agreed? Agreed.
Thank you. And would you please call Bill number 107, the Nova Scotia Agricultural College Act?
Bill number 107. The Honourable the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I am very pleased to move this bill for third reading. And the NSAC will no longer be a branch of the Department of Agriculture, but will certainly retain the same agriculture mandate and an enhanced governance model to improve NSAC's ability to retain and recruit top quality faculty, attract more research funding, and recruit talented students, and maintain its academic reputation. And I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable the Member for Hants East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to just give my concurrence with the minister's comments. This is a good move on part of the government. I think the academic community would see it as a very positive step, and I think in particular specifically for those at the Agricultural College, the level of support I think for this move was shown at the law amendments. Anybody who came to speak was very much in support. We would certainly like to keep an eye on things as they progress over in the future for the Agricultural College. We certainly would like to see it maintain its mandate, but this I think is a positive move in the sense of to try to seek out other funding opportunities that may have been doors that may have been closed just because they were so connected to government. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of my colleagues in this opposition party, we congratulate the minister for this move, and we look forward to positive things in the future for the Agricultural College.
Honourable the Member for Kings West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'm pleased to rise to my place today and support this piece of legislation around the governance of the Agricultural College, a venerable institution in our province, I think about 113 years old. And to see it now move to greater autonomy and away from the attachment and strings of government, even for small decisions, they had to go back to government for approval. I think this is a positive step. I think the opportunities that it will provide around research in particular, selection of a president for the college, there may be a much wider appetite now for somebody that can bring their research, their background to the course of developing its future. So I think this is indeed a very supportive piece of legislation for the future of the Agricultural College in the province, and hoping that it will be one that in fact gives a continued viability and execution of its mandate and the importance of agricultural research, especially at a time when we're taking a look in this province at sustainability. What greater sustainability do we have than in agriculture itself? Looking at all kinds of ways of making sure that the soils of the province continue to be able to be very productive. I think those kinds of trials and work must go on, and I think capturing to a greater degree monies from private sources, from corporations, I think will be enhanced by this new approach to the governance of the Agricultural College, and the Liberal caucus indeed supports this piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Minister, it will be to close debate. Oh, the Honourable, the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia, and Infrastructure.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you, and I just wanted to go on record again as supporting third reading of this bill. Members of this House will know that I've been a long and vocal supporter of the Nova Scotia Agricultural College in my time in this legislature, and I do believe the time has finally come, albeit slow time, to make this change. And when I spoke on second reading, Mr. Speaker, I did talk about the benefits to agriculture and the changes in it, but I don't want the public to be misled to think that only agriculture is studied at that institution. It has a remarkably good basic science program, which would suit any science student, any student in this province who wishes to go on and study university science, probably as good as any in the province. They would get that education at the NSAC. And not only it has animal and horticultural components, it has business components in a variety of things. Mr. Speaker, I attended the convocation about 3 or 4 weeks ago on behalf of the minister, and the list of the diplomas and degrees, the areas of study, could go well beyond the field of agriculture. The guest speaker at the convocation this year, Mr. Speaker, very interesting, is the Dean of Medicine at Dalhousie University. He got a start at the Nova Scotia Agricultural College. And so what I'm saying is that the education that is offered there is transferable to any number of fields. It is a very, very good undergraduate institution, and of course its relationship with Dalhousie University makes it one of the outstanding research institutions in this province too. Indeed, if one was to take a look at the dollars generated in research grants by faculty members at the Nova Scotia Agricultural College, it may very well be probably, if it's not first, probably second in this province. And of course, Mr. Speaker, what the legislation does, it is going to put into place a governance model which is going to make it possible to do its job even better. And the minister and the critics have already spoken about some of the things which will follow this governance change, everything from attracting more research dollars or being eligible for more research dollars, for which they are not eligible now because they're seen as a direct arm of government, to the search for faculty, the search for president. There are going to be any number of things that will just be easier to do once this legislation is enshrined. And with those few words, Mr. Speaker, I will take my place and encourage all members of this House to support this bill.
I recognize the minister. It will be to close debate. The Honourable the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I too would like to thank the MLA for Truro Bible Hill, the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia Municipal Relations, because without a doubt he worked very hard on this file, not just during the course of the bill coming to introduction and second reading and committee of the whole House, law amendments, etc., etc. He has been vigilant on this file, and I too want to thank the critics opposite, the member for Hants East and the NDP party, and of course I want to thank the MLA for Kings West, the critics with the Liberals, for their support, because it really was a unanimous undertaking to be brought forward. And I am a little remiss, just to take a couple of more moments, Mr. Speaker, I clearly want to thank the Deputy Minister at the Department of Agriculture, who really put his shoulder to the wheel and brought this into fruition. So we had all the stakeholders, the past presidents, the two acting presidents, faculty, staff, and in fact students are extremely supportive. And I would think when the time's appropriate, there will be probably a small celebration in Bible Hill when the legislation actually receives royal assent. So thanks to all members in the House, and thank you to my colleague and member for Truro Bible Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is for third reading on Bill number 107. Is the House ready for the question? Question. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 107, entitled An Act Respecting Nova Scotia Agricultural College.
Ordered that this bill do pass, ordered that the title be as read by the clerk, and ordered that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 117, the Securities Act?
Bill number 117. The Chair recognizes the Honourable the Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my honour and pleasure to move third reading of the bill.
The Honourable Member for Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just have a few brief words on Bill 177. It's important we recognize the role that many of the individuals in this profession play with health care and alternative treatments, Mr. Speaker. We all know, and I'm sure, wrong bill? Okay, Mr. Speaker, I'll take my, my place.
Bill before the House is Bill number 117, the Securities Act. Are there further speakers? The motion is for a third reading on Bill number 117, the Securities Act. Is the House ready for the question? Question has been called. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 117, title and act to amend Chapter 418 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Securities Act.
Ordered that this bill do pass, ordered that the title be as read by the clerk, and ordered that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 123, the Public Service Act for Seniors?
Bill number 123, the Public Services Act. The Chair recognizes the Honourable the Minister of Immigration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it gives me great privilege or great pleasure to move Bill 123, creation of the Department of Seniors, and I would so move.
The Honourable the Member for Dartmouth South, Portland Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to take a few minutes to discuss Bill 123. I spoke during second reading and expressed some concern over the retroactivity of this bill. The Department of Seniors has been up and running for a number of months, and you know, it would have been perhaps a little more proactive to have had the legislation in place instead of having it set up by regulation under the Executive Council. I'm also a little concerned that the mandate hasn't been expanded for the Department of Seniors. It definitely needs to have more authority and control in terms of being able to coordinate legislation and policies that impact on seniors in this province. And I think we only need to look at the fiasco that occurred around the Seniors Pharmacare changes and program this year to realize that the new Department of Seniors has not improved the situation much. And I have to say that I'm disappointed that the government has been almost using the Group of 9 seniors organizations in this province as a scapegoat for the inadequacies of how those changes were implemented. The Group of 9, I think, were given some very a narrow mandate in which to make recommendations, and it's unfortunate that the government itself is not taking responsibility for the poor performance of that and the underspending of the Seniors Pharmacare program money. I also want to say that the Department of Seniors really needs to have more authority to provide adequate funding for seniors organizations around this province, especially senior centres, which are severely underfunded and are the best way to coordinate community-based programming in this province. Again, caregivers is a serious issue and needs taking action on a lot of the recommendations and concerns that have come out of some of the consultation and study by the former Senior Secretariat. They need to move forward under the Department of Seniors. So I just want to finish by suggesting that the Department of Seniors needs to have higher expectations from both the government, from this House, and from the seniors and families of this province in terms of taking action on the research and consultation that they've been doing fairly well, I must say, over the past number of years. And I think as a newly defined Department of Seniors, that attention has to be given to the slow progress on many of the recommendations, which would make life much easier for seniors in our province. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I will take my seat.
Thank you. The member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to stand here today and speak on Bill number 123. When it comes to our seniors in this province, Mr. Speaker, I have great respect for each and every one, even the ones that are in this house. And not me yet, but that is the Department of Seniors is something that we've advocated for a long time, Mr. Speaker, to make sure the seniors of this province were well taken care of, and so we're pleased, that this bill is going through the House to do just that. And I hope, and I've said all along, that this department is great. It's all right to say that we have a department, but we've got to make sure that this department does take care of our seniors and be a one-stop shop for our seniors, for anything they need, that they can pick up the phone and call this department and receive what they need to receive that day, that moment. That's what we see in this department, Mr. Speaker. So with that, I will take my place and be very pleased to see this go to law amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair will recognize the Honourable the Minister of Immigration to close debate on Bill number 123. The Honourable the Minister of Environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the comments of my critics opposite. Department of Seniors, we take great pride in the formation of this, and as my critics opposite have said, it's an extremely important move on behalf of the government to ensure that our seniors in this province are well cared for and looked after. So, Mr. Speaker, on that note, I will move closure of debate on Bill 123.
Thank you. The motion is for third reading on Bill number 123, the Public Services Act. Is the House ready for the question? Question. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 123, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 376 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Public Service Act respecting seniors.
Order that this bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk, and order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 125, the Public Service Act?
Bill number 125, Public Services Act. The Honourable the Minister of Labour and Workforce Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's my great pleasure to move third reading of Bill 125.
Question? Question has been called. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried.
Bill 125, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 376 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Public Service Act respecting labour and workforce development.
Order that this bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk, and order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, would you please call Bill number 135, the Municipal Elections Act?
Bill number 135, the Municipal Elections Act. The Honourable the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia, and Municipal
Thank you,
Relations.
Mr. Speaker. And the issue of this thing is, with the Municipal Elections Act, was to make the changes that would allow for electronic voting to take place in the upcoming municipal election. And, Mr. Speaker, I move third reading.
Thank you. Question has been called. The motion is for third reading on Bill number 135. Is the House ready for the question? Question. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 135, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 300 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Municipal Elections Act.
Order that this bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk, and order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 144, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act?
Bill number 144, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act. The Chair recognizes the Honourable the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia, and Municipal Relations.
This bill is actually a very simple one, and it is a name change from the Film Development Corporation Act to Film Nova Scotia. And, Mr. Speaker, I move third reading.
The Honourable Member for Pictou East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure for me to stand in support of this bill. As was stated, it is a name change only, and certainly Film Nova Scotia does in fact sound better than Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation, and certainly want to support this on behalf of my colleagues in the official opposition. And certainly at some point we would like to see further changes, changes to the extension of the tax credits in relationship to the Film Nova Scotia, an extension to commercials and other productions. However, Mr. Speaker, that is something for another date. And very briefly, I want to go on record in support of this on behalf of the official opposition. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to just take a moment and speak in support of this change. I think it's an updating. It's a renewed focus when we talk about Film Nova Scotia. We already have a good history, a strong history of developing the industry and also attracting from south of the border and across the country the opportunities for Nova Scotians in a whole range of career areas, the development and advance of film and film production in this province. So I think this is timely to be part of renewing the old corporation to the concept of Film Nova Scotia. The Liberal caucus supports this bill, and like my colleague opposite, think that, however, there is a day to look once again at the film tax credit system, especially in a time of changing value of the Canadian dollar. With that, I'll take my place, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Chair will recognize the Honourable the Minister of Service, Nova Scotia and Municipal Relations to close third read.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank colleagues in the other two parties for their helpful interventions. And with that, I close debate on Bill number 144 and ask you to call the question.
Thank you. The motion is for third reading on Bill number 144, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act. Is the House ready for the question? The question has been called. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 144, entitled An Act to amend Chapter 20 of the Acts of 1990, the Nova Scotia Film Development Corporation Act.
Order that this bill do pass, order that the title be as read by the clerk, and order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable, the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act?
Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act. The Chair recognizes the Honourable, the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to rise tonight in the move third reading of Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act. Mr. Speaker, there are several changes involved in this in these amendments. One obviously is in regards to the interlock program in this province. We want to ensure that that those who, as the program is being developed and will be launched very soon, that only those in Nova Scotia who have the ability to be issued a license will be those who have successfully apply for and conform to the stipulations in regards to interlock programs. So that's part of it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is that members of the House will remember last year, particularly over in the Dartmouth area, where police were saying that a lot of times they were apprehending drivers for various infractions of the Motor Vehicle Act, particularly, and where these individuals were continuing to drive even though they've been caught by the police many times on more than one occasion. Mr. Speaker, this change in the Motor Vehicle Act will allow for clear and clarification, I guess, in regards to guidelines in Motor Vehicle Act impoundment sections to allow police to not only be able to be assured of how they can go about the process of impounding vehicles, Mr. Speaker, but also the the ability to dispose of those vehicles, whether it be through the register or through another process. And there are several processes outlined in these amendments. Mr. Speaker, I think it'll go a long way to ensuring that it makes our roads safer, that gives police the opportunity to do their job and for clarification in regards to disposal of vehicles. And the other part, Mr. Speaker, is in regards to fines. Those who are caught who are driving without a license, obviously the doubling of fines will I believe, go a long way to ensuring again that people will adhere to the laws of this province, and Mr. Speaker, making our roads safer. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few comments, I will take my seat, and I look forward to suggestions or comments from my colleagues opposite. But again, it's a pleasure to move third reading of Bill number 46, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The motion is for third reading on Bill number 146, the Motor Vehicle Act. Is the House ready for the question? Question has been called. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 146, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 293, the Revised Statutes 1989, the Motor Vehicle Act.
Order that this bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk. In order that this bill be engrossed. Chair recognizes the Honourable, the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call private members' bills for third reading, Bill number 121, the Assessment Act.
Private members' public bills for third reading. Bill number 121, the Assessment Act. Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure that I rise today on this bill. Being from Cape Breton and knowing the cooperative movement very well in the history of that island, I know how important it is for people to have cooperative housing, for low-income families to be able to afford housing. I think that this bill will actually help them be on an even playing field with homeowners in the province of Nova Scotia. I would like to thank my colleague from Halifax Needham, my colleague from Dartmouth North, who one of the first housing cooperatives started in Dartmouth North, my colleague from Halifax Chebucto, and my Halifax Citadel on the majority of cooperative housing in the province, Mr. Speaker, and also Susan Kenny and Gail McNeil of the High Hopes Cooperatives, instrumental in helping me come forward with this bill. I would like to say thank you to all the members of the Legislative Assembly for doing the right thing with this bill and making sure that the cooperative people are now on a level playing field. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Nova.
I'd like to move third reading on Bill 121.
Thank you. Motion is for third reading on Bill number 121, the Assessment Act. Is the House ready for the question? Question has been called. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 121, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 23, the Revised Statutes 1989, the Assessment Act.
Order that this bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk. In order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable, the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you please call private members' public bills for second reading?
Private members' public bills for second reading.
Number 177, the Naturopathic Doctors Act.
Bill number 177. The Chair recognizes the Honourable, the Minister of Finance. The Honourable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, I rise to move second reading of the bill. This is a bill that is designed to regulate naturopathic doctors in Nova Scotia. It is a very simple bill that is designed to protect the public. It does that by guaranteeing that the doctors in question have the basic science and practical training required to protect the public, that they are both members of the Canadian Association of Naturopathic Doctors and the Nova Scotia Association of Naturopathic Doctors, that also, Mr. Speaker, they have malpractice insurance, again, in the interest of protecting the public, should there be something that doesn't work out as it should. The other reason for, Mr. Speaker, this bill, and the other reason that it's in the interest of the public for this bill, is because, as those members of the House who followed the Financial Measures Act would have remembered, that the Financial Measures Act contained a provision that made the fees that are charged by naturopathic doctors tax deductible and entitled to the Nova Scotia government's tax deductions. The effect of this bill passing this House will be that these patients of these doctors will be entitled to get a tax deduction, a federal tax deduction. And so this will provide not only the benefit of both the provincial tax deduction, which we as members of this House have legislated, but will give the patients of these physicians, of these naturopathic physicians, the same advantage as other people have that receive medical care. And quite frankly, that is the reason that I've been involved in moving this bill in front of the House, because I'm well aware of the importance of consistency, and we would like to see that Nova Scotians that have the advantage of the services of these naturopathic doctors should have the advantage of the tax benefits from that are available to them in Nova Scotia under their federal income tax. Also, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that the drafters of the bill have been very careful to ensure that this does not in any way impede on the rights, privileges of other health professions or indeed traditional Chinese medicine practitioners in Nova Scotia, again, in the interest of simply providing the people who choose to use the services of naturopathic doctors with protection, but not in any way trying to affect other health practitioners in this province. And it's kind of interesting that this group of individuals with the professional qualifications that they have today in certain provinces in the country, other provinces that now recognize them as a regulated profession, that these doctors, the services they provided are in those provinces entitled to a federal tax deduction. But unfortunately, because up until this point, there was no provincial statute dealing with naturopathic doctors, there therefore was no ability for these group of individuals who are practicing in Nova Scotia. So the same patient seeing the same doctor in other provinces in this country would be entitled to a tax deduction. We felt that it was appropriate that they be entitled to the same benefit, would be entitled to the same benefit in Nova Scotia. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I would close my remarks at this point on second reading and would move second reading of the bill.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the honourable member from Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I can speak now on Bill 177. I think it's important we recognize the importance of this legislation. I've stood in my place many times over the last number of years discussing and debating the need for a regulatory body for a certain profession. If we're talking about dental hygienists to paramedics and a number of different disciplines within the healthcare system, Mr. Speaker, here in our province, because it's important. Because when we have these individuals practicing in our province, we need to make sure that the public safety is the number one concern for the government and for all legislative assembly members here, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that when they go and see someone who has a title, and there's many out there, Mr. Speaker, that title is accredited here in this province, especially when you're talking about health care and definitely naturopathic doctors here in Nova Scotia provide health services and health care delivery here in the province, Mr. Speaker. It's important that we know that those individuals who have those titles, have those designations, are in some cases charging Nova Scotians, have the credentials to back themselves up, Mr. Speaker, have the education, have the background, the courses, the schooling needed, and follow the rules that are set up throughout the country and of course here in this province. And far too often here in Nova Scotia, we're one of the last provinces to see and see changes through legislation to deal with things like this, Mr. Speaker. Naturopathic doctors have been around for a long time. And this piece of legislation, like many other, should have been on the floor of this legislature years ago, Mr. Speaker, because they do play a role here in Nova Scotia. And I'm glad to see that this legislation really will put the framework to the protection, I think, that the public needs and wants and deserves when they have or go and see someone who might be practicing under the naturopathic title, Mr. Speaker, especially one who calls themselves a naturopathic doctor. I know that many of us here in the legislature know family members, friends, or constituents who seek alternative medicine, Mr. Speaker, and this really is an important avenue for many people who feel that the current system, the current delivery of health care doesn't meet their needs. And I come from, Mr. Speaker, a health background that provided emergency care, and this and naturopathic remedies and treatments really didn't pertain to me in my ability to deliver health care. But I came across many patients, Mr. Speaker, over the years who had taken advantage, not only in our own province and across the country, down in the States, of alternative ways of receiving health care, Mr. Speaker, and a lot of the time it works. And it's amazing to see somebody who maybe I've picked up and have picked up as a paramedic, Mr. Speaker, for many, many years, and then see them after they've had some other options or other treatments, Mr. Speaker, and I've seen some successes. I've seen some that haven't, Mr. Speaker, but those individuals are trying to find a way to survive an illness or an injury or try to beat something that most regular ways of treating it, Mr. Speaker, have failed. So it's good to see this. It's good to see that individuals who seek alternative treatment under this profession, Mr. Speaker, will be able to take advantage of the tax exemption that we see in other areas of healthcare, Mr. Speaker, and it's important we recognize that, and it's important that we see this in this piece of legislation. I don't know if this is truly a controversial piece of legislation. I think this is an important one. It's ironic that we see now today in the House of Commons them debating a bill that would limit actually some of the naturopathic products, health products that we see. And there's a lot of controversy in that, Mr. Speaker, which I'll be keeping track on and keeping attention of. And it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, because ultimately, with the creation of this kind of body and these regulations, maybe it could happen someone here in Nova Scotia who prescribes a remedy to some Nova Scotian that they won't be able to get that remedy filled or that prescription filled, Mr. Speaker, because of a change in legislation at the national level. So we'll have to ensure we keep an eye on this to see what happens in Ottawa and how this piece of legislation will hopefully better the service that Nova Scotians receive from naturopathic doctors here in Nova Scotia. So our caucus will support this piece of legislation going through the legislative process. I would have hoped that this would have come forward a lot sooner, but I'm glad it's finally here, Mr. Speaker, and finally here on the floor so that we can pass it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pleased to rise and say a few words about Bill 177. This is a piece of legislation advanced by government, but one which I think the province and many people have been waiting for some time. We know that it is an alternate treatment system, but it is science-based, and again requires a strong education before a doctor of naturopathic medicine can be obtained. So I think this bill gives credence to the practice and to the practitioners, as well as providing criteria for their practice and for the practitioners that are already in the field and ones that will come along in the future. There's no question that there are a percentage of people that will go to a naturopath and find very, very successful results. And I think the bill which guarantees that, that the naturopathic doctor must be a graduate of an accredited school, has passed both the science and clinical portion of the licensing examination, has malpractice insurance, a member of the Canadian Association of Naturopathic Doctors, member of the Nova Scotia Association of Naturopathic Doctors. So I know that this bill still requires, some distilling and some review by people across the medical professions, and that's the whole idea of moving it into law amendments to hear from other people. As my colleague mentioned, it's interesting that today in Parliament, Bill C-51, brought to my attention by a doctor in the province, in fact, could actually undermine some of their work and in fact, some of the thrust of this bill here, because C-51 does have the potential to make a real hit on the products that are used by naturopathic doctors. So I think it's one that we need to be cognizant of, and perhaps as legislators at least weigh in on encouraging government at a certain stage to call for a second look, and for the opposition parties perhaps not to support. But this piece of legislation, 171, is welcomed by our party, and we look forward to it going on to law amendments. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I take my place.
Thank you. If I recognize the Honourable the Minister of Finance will be to close debate on Bill number 177. The Honourable the Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much.
Number 177.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank very much my colleagues on the other side of the House for their very positive interventions on the bill, and I, like them, look forward to the bill moving on to law amendments and through the legislative process, hopefully to third reading in the very near future. And with that, I'd close debate.
Thank you. The motion before the House is for second reading on Bill number 177. Is the House ready for the question? The question has been called. Would all those in favour of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
Bill 177, title and act respecting naturopathic doctors.
Order that this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments. Chair recognizes the Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask consent of the House to take a brief recess.
Is it agreed? Great. The House will recess for a few minutes. Order, please. Chair recognizes the Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask that you revert back to presenting reports of committees.
Is it agreed? Agreed. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Chairman of the Law Amendments Committee, I'm directed to report that the committee has met and considered the following bills. Bill number 79, an act to amend Chapter 140 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Elections Act. Bill number 127, an act respecting the protection of confidential disciplinary proceedings of the health professions. The committee recommends these bills to the favorable consideration of the House with certain amendments. Also, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Chairman of the Committee on Law Amendments, I'm directed to report the committee has met and considered the following bills. Bill number 3, an act to amend Chapter 380 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Public Utilities Act. Bill number 120, an act to amend Chapter 376 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Public Service Act respecting the environment. Bill number 156, an act to amend Chapter 6 of the Acts of 2001, the Land Registration Act. The committee recommends these bills to the favorable consideration of the House without amendment.
Or that these bills be read on a future day. The Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With consent, unanimous consent of the House, that the bills that I've just reported be added to the Committee of the Whole House on Bills for consideration today.
Is it agreed that these bills? No?
Who said no?
Okay. That's right. The Honourable the Member for Cape Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is not to draw this out, but there are some negotiations going on now in law amendments, and this is a problem when we try to do legislation on the fly like this, that there's certain negotiations going on in law amendments that we are not certain bills that we are comfortable moving forward at this time. So there is, until we can get some clarity on these bills, it would be our party's position to take a short recess.
Thank you. The Chair will recognize the Honourable the Deputy Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and at this time I would ask for a short recess until we can get the matter resolved. Thank you.
Is it agreed? Agreed. Great. The House will recess for a few minutes. Thank you.